Welcome to Agreeing to Disagree, the Chuck and Brad podcast.
I'm Chuck Staten.
I'm Brad Rohr. This is our inaugural edition here.
I did not know what inaugural meant before today.
It means hit with a giant auger, which is a drilling tool of some sort.
Oh, okay. See, that's what the president gets hit with an inaugural address.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I'm guessing it happened,
That's what happened
after I changed the channel.
So this is going to be our podcast. This is the first one, as we said, and I'm not really sure what we're going to talk about all the time yet. Are you sure?
No real idea, but
No.
I'm sure we'll think of something.
Yeah, no. This first episode, we're going to introduce ourselves. We thought that'd be the best thing. And
What better way to introduce ourselves than by demonstrating what, from pop culture, best reflects our tastes and interests?
right, so from 2008, we're going to have the Brammies and the Chammies.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Now it started with as you all know, there's an awards program called the Grammys, which are they started an award called the Emmys, and then a guy named Grover took them over and abbreviated it as the Grammys.
I thought my Grammy took it over.
And since neither Grover nor Chuck's Grammy is involved in this, I made a casual comment a couple months ago about when the Brammys come out, my year-end awards, and Chuck's like, it can't compete with the Chammies. So today we're going to review our Brammys and Chammies.
And they're going to directly compete.
Yes.
Actually.
At the end, there will be medals given out. But a little warning that this isn't specific to calendar 2008.
Yes, it's not. I was talking to Brad about this earlier. It's not going to be, January 1st, 2008 to December 31st, 2008 at midnight. It's going to be about 2008. If
Right.
it happened 2 weeks afterwards or 2 weeks before, it's included.
I would say, like a total of 13 months, like a baker's year.
A baker's year. That's the Brammys and the Chammies are for the baker's year.
The baker's year of 2008.
And during the podcast, we're going to be drinking. I'm drinking Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Brad's drinking Dunkin' Donuts hot chocolate.
With light on the whipped cream. Don't get crazy with the whipped cream.
I was ordering it. I said medium hot chocolate. He's like, yeah. I'm like, you want whipped cream? He's like, yeah. And I go turn to the box. I get a tap on my shoulder. Light on the whipped cream. Light on the whipped cream. Just in case. That was important.
I don't like too much whipped cream.
We're also going to be eating a large chocolate chip cookie the entire evening.
Yes.
From Meeting Street Cafe.
If you hear some chewing, hopefully it's the
Don't be
cookie.
alarmed.
Yes.
That's what we'll say.
Meeting Street Cafe, if they could sponsor us and cater some meals.
That would be. We talk about them nonstop.
We, you know what, honestly, if anybody wants to sponsor us,
Send a note to chuckstaten@gmail.com or
bradrohr@gmail.com. We will aggressively shill your products or services.
absolutely. I do eventually actually want to make an email address for the show that people can send in questions to, and our number of sponsors can email us their new deals they're trying to give us
Yeah.
to talk about them. So,
Right.
so the show is going to be called Agreeing to Disagree.
Right.
Because where that's coming from is because me and Brad are quite different people.
Right.
And quite the same in many ways as
Right.
well. So we might disagree a lot. We might agree for most of the time. And I did want to tell you this on air, Brad.
Oh, fantastic.
I wanted to bring this up on air, I should say. Brad already knows about this. Brad is a racist against Scottish people. Right, Brad?
That's not entirely true.
And so he wanted to call the show Scot-Free with Chuck and Brad. So that
Is not at all true.
there was no Scottish people allowed. And I decided that agreeing to disagree, specifically about your racist qualities,
Thank you.
would be more apt. Not
That,
apt, but,
that brings up two things. Number one, I'm in an improv group, and last night we did an AB scene, which rotates players in and out, and one of the players had a Scottish accent, so the rest of us then tried to maintain that Scottish accent throughout, and I can't do it. I can't do accents.
I don't know the difference between Irish and Scottish when it comes to accents.
I would neither. My Scottish accent is like, you haven't seen all of Lost, so I don't want to ruin it for you. There is a Scottish, I think, character who says I instead of yes. That's about my knowledge of Scottish accents.
I thought that was a pirate accent.
No, I don't think so.
I think it might be.
Secondly, and since movies is our first topic for the Baker's year of 2008,
Yes.
had a conversation with a friend recently about the movie Gran Torino, which came out right at the end of 2008. I have yet to see it.
Me too.
And my friend said, I didn't think it was that funny. And I said, well, I didn't think it was, isn't that the Clint Eastwood movie? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, I didn't think that was a comedy.
I don't think it's a comedy either.
Right. And she said, all the racist terms that Clint Eastwood uses are really funny. And I'm like, what? you're a racist? And she's like, no, everyone in the theater was laughing. I'm like, oh, that makes it okay.
That's.
As long as all that. That's probably why Klan meetings are so popular.
I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt on this one. Gran Torino is the best comedy of the year, according to Brad's friend.
Mark it down.
Yes. No, I think we should actually name a couple of our qualifications off. Like you just mentioned that you were in the bit players.
Right.
My main qualification, I beat Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo this week in an hour and 22 minutes. So that's my main qualification for having a podcast.
And here's an agree to disagree moment. I have never completed the game Donkey Kong Country. I never had it for Super Nintendo. I've played through it via various emulators throughout, but I've never completed the game. I don't know why I missed it. I had Super Nintendo. I had a wide variety of games.
Wonderful game.
Some terrible, some less so.
Right.
But I think all my time that I spent playing NBA Live 95 and NBA Live 96, and that was time that could have gone to Donkey Kong Country.
I agree.
It's a regret.
Donkey Kong Country I consider to be the not direct sequel, but the next step of Super Mario World, which it's very similar. The gameplay is similar. The maps are similar. It's just a similar set.
I understand. Plus, there's mine car racing.
Yeah.
Was that in the first one? I know it's in the second one.
It's in all of them. It's in all of them. It's great. But yeah, Brad is in the improv group, the Bit Players.
We perform
from Newport.
in Newport, Rhode Island. I took improv classes in Chicago years ago with moderate, no, not even moderate, with a little success.
I love watching you. You're a great guy.
It was a lot of fun, and I met some great people. But ultimately, full-time job at the time won out, and several years later, down to Arkansas for graduate school. Several months after that. After being unemployed, and I might add, revisiting some of those old Super Nintendo games. I finished my second season of NHL 95 in 2006.
That's great.
It was fantastic.
That's a lot of commitment.
I won the Stanley Cup. Undefeated.
No big deal.
Yeah. And then I got a job out here at a college. I'm in charge of a dormitory or a residence hall, depending on where you're coming from and saying that. And
we are currently in Rhode Island right now.
Yes.
Brad lives in Massachusetts and works in Massachusetts.
Right. And then through all this stuff, met Chuck. Have seen the band Senior Discount, which Chuck fronts.
I do. I front it.
Fronts it.
I front to them. Like I give them a front.
Yes.
I'm not really. I act really hard around them. Is
right.
What I'm trying to say.
Why you fronting, Chuck? Why you got a front?
That's what everyone says to me.
And I think through, assuming this podcast goes well and people like us, that we'll have other people from the Rhode Island music scene or.
Absolutely. We're planning on doing, talking about, current entertainment things that are out. Entertainment things, what a stupid thing to say.
Right.
That are out. And we're also planning on playing some local music in the background. We're actually planning on interviewing other bands as well. I wanted the first interview to be Penrose because they are breaking up. They refused to answer my MySpace email or my text. Thought it'd be nice since they're not going to be around much longer to interview them.
Right.
Maybe they'd have something to promote their big show coming up. I'm not even going to plug it because they wouldn't even answer my thing, so I'm not going to plug it.
Right.
But poor decision.
Now I don't know much. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know as much about the Rhode Island music scene or music in general as Chuck does. So I guess I'd really be approaching these things like a newborn baby approaches a local band,
which would make the new listener very comfortable because Brad is also learning at the same time as you are.
One would think, yeah.
Yes, but Penrose, I'm not gonna totally blast them. They're all nice guys. I've hung out with them countless times, and they're good guys, but just a little undependable, unreliable. Things like that.
Just really
regular musician stuff. They're nice guys, but they're horrible. No. Yeah. So Brad's giving you his little intro.
Yes.
I'm Chuck Staten from Senior Discount. I do videos with Senior Discount. I write songs with Senior Discount and play with Senior Discount. Just finally graduated college with my little film degree, and I do web design for a landscaping company. That's my job.
Nice.
I'm gonna start writing for a small newspaper or magazine starting up soon called The Improv. I-N-Prov, not improv, like Brad's involved in. And, we're going to start this podcast. And, yeah, we're probably going to have our friends on. Alan Souza, the Senior Discount bassist, of course.
He's ridiculous.
He is.
And I love him to death.
Right, me too. And he's fun. We've been on the radio together before. We're probably going to host this on the same page as some of me and Souza's older radio stories, so you can download them as well there. Souza, maybe the Tej, Senior Discount lead guitarist, maybe Casey, the Sousa girlfriend.
She's so much more than the Sousa girlfriend.
She is. She's like everyone's girlfriend.
She also
me.
She also cleans up after Sousa. Sometimes she.
Yeah, she's more like Sousa's caretaker.
There we go.
Yeah,
I'd go with caretaker.
Yeah, caretaker. So it was gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun times, and I hope you enjoy it. So without any further ado, let's get started with the Brammies versus the Chammies.
Let's start with movies.
All right, movies. All right, 2008. Told you it's just it's about 13 months, the Baker year,
Right.
the Baker's year.
Yes.
Brad, do you want to go first with your first movie pick?
I would love to. The category here being favorite older movie that I saw for the first time in the Baker's year 2008.
Okay.
Now I'm a little ashamed to admit that I had never seen it before, but I really enjoyed the movie Jaws. Just really an interesting. Like I get so many more pop culture references now that I have seen that movie. Whether it's scratching your nails across a chalkboard or I'm swimming, and plus I've learned to be afraid of sharks.
Yeah, I have not seen Jaws in a long time, but I think that Jaws is probably within the top 5 most parodied movies of all time on television shows and other movies.
Did you know that before they made Jaws 3D? Because they made Jaws and then Jaws 2, they weren't really sure what to do with the third one, so they were going to give it to the people at National Lampoon back before they, only did crazy teenage sex comedies, and they had a screenplay, I think, of Jaws 3 People Zero, like a joke movie.
That's funny. That's a really good name.
And they ended
that's a great name.
And they ended up getting rid of it to do Jaws 3D, which didn't do so well.
That would have been awesome.
Yes,
that would have been the first time a franchise has just turned to a different type of movie completely.
Unless they release like the Naked Gun CSI and it's a serious crime drama. Yeah. What do you got on your docket over there?
All right, favorite older movie I saw for the first time in 2008. Very possibly Grease.
Really?
I must have seen Grease. I knew some of the songs. I will say this, I was not familiar enough with the film to know that they were saying "You're the one that I want" in that song.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know what they were saying. I just thought they were just I didn't know what they were saying.
Okay.
Now, I watched Grease for the first time this year with my girlfriend, like the first real time.
Right.
I must have seen clips of it before.
Yeah.
That must have been probably what
and
happened.
clips are around, yeah.
Right. And what I could not believe was how dirty and sexual it was.
The chicks will cream.
The chicks will cream for Grease Lightning
Yes.
is actually the line in that song.
Right.
Now, if you look online, I looked and I saw a different, a lyric place that
I would
said...
say will scream.
It said scream, but in the movie
they
it's
do
clearly
not
cream.
say scream.
It's clearly cream.
Yes.
Not only that, they have a very lenient view on rape. Did you notice that?
Yes. I want to say the Summer Lovin', is that the name of the song?
Summer Lovin'. I just got coffee in my nose.
Yes,
Summer
you did.
Lovin' is
Did
tell
she
me more,
did
tell
she
me
put up
more.
a fight?
Yeah, did she put up a fight? And then it's like, what the hell's going on here?
She did put up a fight, but I went through with it.
That's the
what?
thing. And I read a recent review of Grease that said that he tries to rape her at the drive-in when she leaves.
Right.
And I think that's it's a little bit of a stretch. What he means is that he's trying to fool around with her, and she's like
Right.
no, and he's kind of trying to force it. So technically, I mean, if she went to the police, it could be rape. I don't buy that that's really rape.
Right.
In the movie, I mean, of course not. In real life.
Right. And we're not in any way endorsing or condoning that behavior. If you go to the drive-in with a lady friend or a man friend.
What Brad's trying to say is, if you're going to the drive-in with a guy, you better be expected to give up something.
Absolutely.
That's what we're trying to say.
Yes.
But I seriously couldn't believe that that it was so dirty because it's so revered and such a family
Right.
film. Like a lot of mothers, I think, like Grease.
And high schools put on productions of Grease, and if you go to a wedding, they will play a Grease medley, and everyone runs out on the floor and does the hand jives from that movie.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's a very family oriented film, I'd say. And I just found that to be disgusting, and I'm upset with John Travolta. Olivia Newton-John is okay in my book.
Yes.
She was
because of the physical video.
Right.
Favorite actor.
Wait, I have to give you my
geez.
honorable mentions.
You have an honorable mention.
Honorable
All right.
mentions for favorite older movie. It's not that old, but I saw it
Okay.
for the first time. Batman Begins.
Right.
Saw it for the first time.
Okay.
Thought it was very good.
It is.
And Casino Royale.
Also good.
They're also really good. I like Casino Royale more than I like Batman Begins.
Okay. I could see that.
And I know they're not really that old,
Right.
but they aren't new in 2008.
No.
Both their sequels came out in 2008.
I would add Lucky Number 11.
Lucky Number 11. Awesome.
Because it it does not have the best title in the world. So I had avoided it, and
Specifically because of that?
because of the bad title.
Slevin's not a number.
Slevin isn't even a word.
Right.
And then I think I got it for my birthday in July, either from you or Sousa or one of that group of people who was there that night, and then watched it and really really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I
think
thought it was a smart, well done movie.
Lucky Number 11's like great. It's on my top list of 50 favorite movies. I do have a list written. All right, so next category. Go ahead, Brad.
Favorite actor.
Okay.
You touched on it with Batman Begins. It's got to be Christian Bale.
Okay.
In addition to The Dark Knight, which I thoroughly enjoyed, I watched 3:10 to Yuma, Rescue Dawn, American Psycho, and probably something else, maybe Newsies, this year, and not Newsies.
Right.
And he's in those, and I thought he was fantastic in all of them. I am not ashamed to say that I have a little man crush on Christian Bale. I think he is fantastic.
I'm going to be honest here. There's an actor I don't like at all because of his face. And that is Aaron Eckhart. I think Aaron Eckhart looks like an idiot. I think he looks like a big horse-faced, moose-headed idiot. And I liked him in Dark Knight. I'm not going to lie about that. But
Right.
he looks so dumb to me. The movie Suspect Zero was one of his first big starring roles. He looks so dumb to me. I couldn't get behind him at all. Christian Bale, I kind of felt a little similar about, where I thought he had a dumb look about him.
Okay.
Batman Begins, I thought was pretty good.
Right.
Dark Knight, not to ruin anything, but that was, my favorite movie of the year.
Right.
He was really good in it. And I'm behind Christian Bale. I actually really liked his performance in the Terminator Salvation trailer. I'm not even kidding.
I have yet to see that trailer.
Wow. Well, and you got a treat for you waiting.
Fantastic.
My favorite actor is Heath Ledger.
Okay.
And the reason I put him as my favorite actor was because
You saw A Knight's Tale for the first time this year?
with Dark Knight, he changed my opinion of his acting abilities incredibly. He completely went against anything else I'd seen, because I'd seen 10 Things I Hate About You
Right.
and Brokeback Mountain, and I didn't like Brokeback Mountain.
Right.
Even if he did a good job as that character, I just didn't like the movie that much.
Okay.
So it changed my view of him as an actor a lot.
Right.
And it really surprised me. Brought new life to the Joker, obviously. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to Dark Knight.
Yes.
But that's the reason. Honorable mention, favorite new comedian, Jason Segel, with Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay.
Because he wrote the movie.
Right.
And Forgetting Sarah Marshall, to me, came out of nowhere and was just awesome. I thought it was so funny.
I believe he's also writing a Muppets movie.
Is he?
Which makes me happy, because I love the Muppets.
Right. And the vampire part in Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Right. So I can get on board with that. I remember him from Freaks and Geeks.
Right.
From forever ago, and he's on How I Met Your Mother, which
Right.
is one of my favorite shows on television.
Right.
So.
I haven't seen Freaks and Geeks yet. I haven't seen How I Met Your Mother yet.
Okay.
As you will come to find out in this, I'm very far behind Brad when it comes to certain areas of pop culture. Or should I say 90% of areas of pop culture. We'll
Right.
talk about that when it comes up.
Okay.
But Jason Segel is great.
He is fantastic.
Okay.
Favorite actress.
Okay.
You want to go first?
I'll go first. You know what?
Okay.
Brad had filled out his answers to this beforehand, so I saw his answers. He doesn't know mine yet.
Right.
And I put Anne Hathaway and Elizabeth Banks.
Oh my goodness.
As the tie, just as Brad did.
Yes.
Most desirable character. The reason I found them to be this separately is because Anne Hathaway I wasn't too aware of before Get Smart.
What, you never saw The Princess Diaries?
I did not. I'm sorry, Brad.
It's a beautiful movie.
I know you have the poster. And,
Yes.
I found her to be very attractive. Excuse me, I keep burping. In Get Smart.
Right.
And Elizabeth Banks also extremely, extremely cute to me. And actually reminds me very much of my girlfriend, the way that her face is. And
I could see that.
yeah, and
I just think Elizabeth Banks is so versatile.
agree.
I admit I don't know a lot about the craft of acting.
right.
And she just does every role she's given and does it well. Anne Hathaway, I went to see Get Smart with Sousa and Casey, and there's one
Our
part.
two good friends.
Yes, there's one part where they focus on Anne Hathaway's legs, or like it's accented in the outfit she's wearing, and me, being me, I said, ugh, like I grunted, and
Because you were jealous.
because I was like, those are attractive legs on that woman. And Susan, in case you're like, why were you moaning through the whole movie? That was not a moan. That was one single individual grunt.
Moans and grunts are very close.
I think a moan would be more drawn out. It was definitely yeah.
That's a moan to you?
Yes,
That's fair.
I think a grunt was like, and that was actually less than a grunt. That was a gruntlet.
That was a small vomit.
Yes. Yeah, Anne Hathaway. But then like, actually my opinion of her changed a little bit. She was on like the Spike Video Game Awards or something.
Right.
And she brought out Steve Carell, and she swore. She's like, "This is the best effing guy." And I'm like, "Oh, you're not like Princess Mia Thermopolis, are you?"
That's great.
By the way, I occasionally quote the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, I've never heard. I'm guessing that's her name.
When I tell people the hardest place to be is between friends and more than friends. It's from the Princess Diaries.
Thank you for that. That was awkward. I thought you were just talking to me.
Yes, I'm just letting you know, Joe.
My honorable mention for favorite actress / most desirable character, Mary Steenburgen in Step Brothers.
Really?
The mother. I think she's hot. Ted Danson as a hot wife.
She is an attractive woman.
Yeah, she is.
I just don't know that I would have put her that high up.
I honorable mention.
All right.
I wasn't even attracted to her in Back to the Future 3 when she was closer to my age.
Right.
Because that was 19 years ago.
Yes, percentage-wise, closer to your age.
And, but yeah, she was hot in Step Brothers.
She's an attractive older woman.
She is.
We should be so lucky.
A handsome woman.
Yes. Favorite comedy.
Okay, favorite comedy.
For me, it was Role Models. We saw it right at the end of the year. It was a two-horse race. My honorable mention was Step Brothers.
Right.
But Role Models to me had a little more heart than Step Brothers did, and I think that's what pushed it over the top.
Mine was a three-way tie between Role Models, Step Brothers, and Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Okay.
And I agree with you that Role Models did have more heart.
Mm-hmm.
My specific taste in comedy, I think, goes so much towards the way that Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly made Step Brothers and what it was about. That was just as high up as me. But yeah, Role Models killed it. Role Models was awesome.
Oh, fantastic. Just little things like, let's touch tips and...
Yeah, gingerly touched tips.
Yes, let's gingerly touch... And
that was... Everything was good. All the side characters in that were great. Everything was good in that movie.
Yeah, and I think, we went to see it, and, Sean William Scott's character befriends a young African-American boy, and I'm like... as we're in the theater, I'm like, the mom's going to be really hot and Stifler's going to nail, and it, she was she was a handsome woman, but it wasn't the typical like, oh, now he's going to have to seduce the mom and be like,
right.
And I was so glad they didn't go there, even though it made me wrong in my prediction during the movie.
Yes, I think that before the movie came out, and I was like, all right, Paul Rudd, Sean William Scott, written by David Wayne, awesome. I was for it, and the trailer came out, and it was like,
Look at this sassy black kid.
Yeah, who swears. Like, it was just him swearing, and I was like, all right, well, this looks like it's going to be kind of a one-horse, one joke horse. I don't know.
One trick pony?
That's what I was going for.
Got it.
But then, I saw the movie, and it was great. I thought it was awesome. Same thing with Forgetting Sarah Marshall. We already talked about that a little bit. Came out of nowhere. Then Step Brothers, I was hoping was good, and was good.
Nice.
So, before we move on to the next... category, I want to go into favorite genre movie.
All right.
You didn't pick one for this?
Well, I could.
Okay, go ahead.
Does kids count as a genre?
Kids, like family?
Yeah, family kids.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I saw it because of the Baker's Year. It came out, I think, in 2006 or 2007. I saw Bridge to Terabithia
for the first time.
Right.
Now
I had read the book when I was in like 3rd or 4th or 5th grade. I don't really remember when. And I remember being so surprised, like, oh, a character dies. And, like, that's not in a lot of books that you read in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
Right.
But the movie, I bawled on 2 separate occasions. And, I was shaking with tears. And it's been a while since a movie has...
Shaking with tears?
Shaking with tears.
That's a...
It was a powerful movie.
Yeah, apparently so.
And I just really... And then went out and bought the book and reread it. And it's kind of amazing how much... my views have changed. I guess it's not really that amazing. Right. I have changed from the person I was when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes.
What, 21 years
I can
in puberty.
I can now grow a beard and drive a car. That's about it.
Not well.
No, neither one well.
Neither one. Well, all right. I didn't see that movie, but...
Okay, it's excellent. I recommend it highly.
And I agree. I believe you.
You should probably watch it either with your girlfriend or with someone who you will not be afraid to let see you cry. That's a very wordy sentence.
So my girlfriend or Tom?
Yes.
Tom Wells. Okay. My favorite genre movie was The Strangers, a movie that I felt didn't have a very good plot, had some weird plot holes,
right.
But really frightened me. It was a new horror movie that really made me like feel tense the entire time. I was frightened during the entire thing. So I thought that was effective in the type of movie that it was.
Right.
You could go the step further and be like the Saw movies and actually have a good plot as well as be scary, and obviously you're better off doing that. But as a genre movie for horror, Strangers was good. My honorable mention, Death Race.
Really?
What genre is it? I do not know, but you could tell that it was just like a kind of like a one track kind of movie, like a big action movie, I guess. And I thought it was gonna be really stupid. We watched it a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was really well done. The world they created was good. The action was great. It was huge. It was different. It was like a new kind of thing, and I really enjoyed it.
Interesting.
As a genre film, like I said.
Right.
So now on to biggest disappointment.
Biggest disappointment. Now I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
On this because I know you have a unique answer.
Yes.
My biggest disappointment was the movie Max Payne. And let me set this up a little bit. I half wanted to see Max Payne. Like, okay, like I like Mark Wahlberg in action movies. Great. I never really played the video game. Or I tried it once, and I was like, okay, that's enough of this slow motion bullets. And so when we went to see it, I expected it to be inoffensive, I guess, at the very worst. And it was abysmal. It was terrible.
I agree.
Dialogue, story, that they cut it from an R to a PG-13, which normally wouldn't bother me,
right.
But they didn't make any stylistic choices
Nope.
that affected that.
Right.
And so that, like, when you can't even meet low expectations, that gets the biggest disappointment. My honorable mention, because I went in with much higher expectations, was Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
Because I didn't think it was as funny as it could have been.
I agree.
There were definitely like a stretch in the middle where it just kind of dragged. Although there was that one cute little kid joke at the end.
That you died at.
I really did. It's a little Vietnamese kid looking sad.
he just gave a big sad lip.
Yeah.
And you just hear Brad
Yes.
in the middle of the theater.
Yes.
So, biggest disappointment for the Chammies, for me, it was a 12-way tie.
I'm going to enjoy this piece of cookie while Chuck talks.
I'm going to make this quick. I'll give a sentence about each movie and why. 12-way tie. Number 1, Be Kind, Rewind. Mos Def is awesome. Jack Black is awesome. Thought the idea of taking old movies and recreating them, like short, like with all low budget, was awesome. This movie sucked. This movie was so bad. The script was bad. The directing was bad. There were 2 big jokes that I liked, and that was it. Sigourney Weaver was in it for no reason for about 2 seconds. Movie was just really bad. Was Mos Def retarded? I don't know. I think he was supposed to be, without them saying it, for real.
Wow.
Honestly. And that's what, I looked it up online, and that's what a lot of people said. Okay. Number 2, Strange Wilderness. I love Steve Zahn.
Okay.
I like Justin Long.
Okay.
I like Jonah Hill a lot.
Right.
I would even say I love Jonah Hill. A lot of the people that were in it, I don't remember who else, but I loved a lot of the cast. It was horrible. It was like the least amount of effort I've seen put into a comedy this year on screen. A horrible movie. Semi-Pro. See, I loved Anchorman, as everyone should.
Right.
I enjoyed Talladega Nights and Blades of Glory,
Okay.
even though a lot of people kind of crapped on them.
Right.
Semi-Pro was bad. Not
All
enough
right.
jokes.
I would say this. The last 20 minutes from when he gets knocked out
Yep.
in the final game, from there to the end, I thought was great. Because I just rewatched it the other day,
Okay.
and I really enjoyed it. Before that, however, not great. So I would agree with you there.
I'd watch it again because that's how I am. I'm a good guy.
Right.
Because Will Ferrell is great.
Unlike Penrose, who are not good guys.
Exactly.
Oh,
I don't know if we can stress that enough. No, like Will Ferrell is great, and Tim Meadows is great too. I mean, I know he wasn't in it that much, but this movie should have been a lot better, is what I think.
Okay.
Funny Games. Horrible movie. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, that was you guys talked about that. Like
Horrible.
the 10-minute one shot of her trying to stand up.
Awful. Just awful. The movie was awful. I don't even get further into it. I'm so disappointed in the people that made this movie.
Basically, if you walk into your local video store and see a display set up with funny games,
Bite through it.
all right.
All right? You have to have strong teeth if you're listening to this show.
Yes.
All right, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay. I
Interesting.
loved Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
As did I.
Awesome movie, awesome cast. The whole thing came out of nowhere.
Right.
The second movie, ridiculous. I thought it was so bad, I did not enjoy it at all. Okay, number 6. You don't mess with the Zohan. I always appreciate Adam Sandler until this movie. There was a couple good jokes in there. Nick Swartzen was not used to his potential. He's awesome.
Right.
Adam Sandler is awesome. He wasn't used to his potential. I'm hoping the next time out, Adam Sandler will kill it, and I believe that he will. The Happening, horrible movie. I hated it.
I didn't see it, but I've seen so many jokes like of people falling off things and saying it's the happening.
Mark Wahlberg is awesome. The Zooey Deschanel, I think, is the lead. She's
Right.
awesome.
By the way, when I found out she recently got engaged, I did scream out loud when I read it online, like no.
I understand.
She was in Bridge to Terabithia as well as the music teacher.
As the non-expressive music teacher, I guess.
No, she was a wonderful music teacher.
Okay, and she's very non-expressive. Anyways, so in The Happening, the trailers were awesome. The guy like laying down in front of the lawnmower to make him kill himself. Everything looked great. And then you went in, and it was like everything that was cool was in the trailer. That's it.
Okay.
Burn After Reading. Cannot believe you. What the hell? What is
Wow.
this? I couldn't believe it. Okay. Next, Blindness. Blindness was ridiculous. I cannot believe what happened. Like, Blindness was so bad, so drawn out. I hated the husband. I hated Blindness.
Okay.
The group rape scene was awful. And it was like disturbing. Like, not even
Well, I
like
was gonna say, to be fair, it's very hard to do a good group rape scene.
unless you have dedicated. Yeah. No. Choke. Choke was my little baby because I was so, I love Fight Club, love Chuck Palahniuk, the writer of Fight Club and Choke. If you saw Choke and you didn't read the actual book Choke,
Right.
it was bad. If you saw Choke and you read Choke, it was horrendous. I feel so bad because they didn't have a huge budget. And I think you might need it for a Chuck Palahniuk book because
Right.
I thought the lead actress was horrible. Lead actor Sam Rockwell was good. The director I even like. The movie was just not good. Quantum of Solace. The reason this was a
Really?
big disappointment is because I thought Casino Royale was awesome.
Right, you've mentioned that.
And I thought Quantum of Solace was not awesome. Quantum of Solace is nowhere near as bad as Blindness or something like that.
Right.
But I had such high hopes.
High hopes, like Tropic Thunder. Got
Yes.
it.
Honorable mentions. Zack and Miri Make a Porno. I guess it's a 14-way tie. Zack and Miri Make a Porno and Tropic Thunder.
Okay.
Because Seth Rogen, Elizabeth Banks, Kevin Smith.
Right.
You're hoping for something really good. Same thing, Tropic Thunder. Ben Stiller, Robert Downey Jr., Jack Black. You're hoping for something good. Both cases, I think they fell short of their full potential, and I was sad about that.
Now I've yet to see Zack and Mary.
Yes.
I'm still going to see it, but I guess with my expectations lowered because of what you have said in the past about it, it's possible that I will end up enjoying it.
Yeah, it's not horrible by any means, but I
Right.
think that they rely a lot on sex jokes and poop jokes and
Oh, okay.
stuff like that to be like, oh, isn't that funny?
Right.
Because we're making a porno, but there's not a lot of good humor in it.
Got it.
So, next, I think we should do favorite non-superhero movie. We should do that before favorite movie, I think.
Makes sense. Favorite non-superhero movie for me, once again, goes to Role Models.
Okay.
Yeah, of the movies I saw, I've really
Role Models
enjoyed
is sweeping the Brammys.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
I don't know about sweeping, but it's certainly showing up. I have no idea what that meant.
Me neither.
How do you rewind a podcast?
It's certainly showing up. Keep going.
That was it. Favorite non-superhero. Like I've said what I had to say about Role Models.
Okay. Favorite non-superhero movie. I kind of separated these a little bit. Favorite event movie was Cloverfield. Thought it was
Right.
really well done. Favorite drama was Pride and Glory, which I just watched
Okay.
and was really good. If I named the movie, I would have renamed it the movie where Colin Farrell irons a baby.
Oh,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's horrendous.
you have to watch it. Okay. Favorite adventure movie: Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skulls, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls.
I enjoyed it.
I liked it, even though a lot of people hated it, and I thought it was weird with aliens as well.
Yes.
By the way, this is not a spoiler-free zone.
It's always
say that right after.
always
right?
good to tell people directly after you spoil some.
Um,
You know what? It's been on DVD since November.
Right. Okay, so that's fair.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought the action was awesome. I thought the grounded action and the car stuff all awesome.
Right.
Favorite animated movie: Kung Fu Panda. I thought it was great.
I would second that. I really enjoyed Kung Fu Panda. And I'd put I watched Ratatouille for the first time this year. I think it came out last year.
Right.
And I just bought WALL-E today, so I have yet to watch it.
See, Wally's supposed to be really good, so
Yeah.
I'm worried that I just haven't seen that and that maybe it's better. But
Mm.
Kung Fu Panda was really good.
I agree.
Favorite horror movie: Saw 5. I couldn't believe that I liked it. I thought, you know what? When I saw 1, I loved it. It's a great piece of filmmaking. And then Saw 2 is coming out. I'm like, they shouldn't turn this into a franchise. It's going to be bad. Went to go see Saw 2. It was okay. They definitely turned it into a regular horror movie. Then Saw 3, 4, and 5. They're seriously like their own deal. And they're really, really good. I'm trying to convince everyone to watch them that doesn't want to watch them,
all right.
including you,
Right.
my friend Brian Lau, my friend Casey,
Right.
and who else does I want to watch them? Oh, my cousin Patrick.
I'm not big on scary movies, so by default, my favorite genre of scary movie is Dead Silence, is the one with the ventriloquist dummy.
Because I made you watch on Halloween.
Because that's the only horror movie I saw all year.
Wow.
I have no desire.
Dead Silence is kind of sweeping the Grammys as well.
Yes.
Just as much as Role Models is, according to you.
Yes.
My final one was Action Rock and Rolla. I loved Rock and Rolla.
I thought it was very good.
I thought it was awesome.
I agree. However, I'm as bad with a British accent as I am with a Scottish accent. So,
Right. So it was difficult for you to reenact the movie by yourself.
Right. When
Yeah.
I Be Kind rewinded it myself.
Right. As everyone should.
Yes.
So should we move on to favorite movie?
We should.
Last
Should.
one?
Now, I think it's important that we mention that these are our favorites.
Right.
I'm not saying what's best.
I am, however.
Yes, I am not an accomplished filmmaker.
Right.
But I paid my money for these tickets or these DVDs, so I just say whether or not I enjoy it. So without any more ado, there, my favorite movie of the year was The Dark Knight.
Really?
Yes, I watched it again today, and I just a good story, well told. There's an ethical dilemma in there, which, as ethics, is a something I care about deeply most of the time. I thought the whole ferry scene was really well done. I thought Heath Ledger's performance was fantastic, and I have to agree with what you say, where at times I went in expecting it like it's just so overhyped, like it's just a big deal because because he died,
Right.
and he was great. The action stuff was good, all the stunt stuff, and then to learn via the DVD special features that they actually flipped a semi over. It boggles my mind. And I was talking to my friend Chad about the Brammys tonight and about the movie The Dark Knight, and he said, when I watched it in the theaters, I noticed that they did, like, I don't know if you ever saw the old Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course I haven't, but like anytime there was like a suspenseful scene or Leatherface was around, there was this high-pitched, like high-frequency thing that would just kind of disturb people. And Chad said, that he noticed it in the theaters, which wouldn't surprise me. Chad's a very astute person.
Right.
And then, again, in the DVD special features, the composer talks about how he had this dissonant chord.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a phrase that's used.
That's what he said.
Okay, a dissonant chord that anytime the Joker was around to really unnerve people. And I was like, it was unnerving.
Absolutely.
Mission
they
accomplished.
Played it with a razor blade,
Yes.
if you remember.
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's what they did.
Wait,
That's true. I would agree. Favorite movie of the year, Dark Knight,
Yeah.
without a doubt. It was so well put together. It's like every line of the movie was painstakingly made sure it was the right next line.
And I don't normally like, it's a 2.5 hour long movie.
Right.
And when I go see movies in the theater, usually, because of my criminally small bladder, I have to get up and go to the bathroom at some point. And this was one I'm like, I don't care. I'm just going to pee myself.
That's it.
I don't want to miss any of this.
That's right. That's how good it was. You'd pee yourself.
Yes.
No, yeah. I thought that Batman Begins was a really cool way to introduce the character of Batman.
Right.
I didn't think it was mind-blowing. I thought it was pretty good. So going into Dark Knight, I expected the same. Another a non-mind-blowing but pretty good sequel. And just walking in, that first opening scene, the bank heist, everything after that was just, you could tell that it was one of the most, like, of the year, definitely one of the most movies that was like, okay, this next thing has to happen because of this. Everything had a purpose behind it. The director totally made sure that the entire movie had these legs and had this continuing feel throughout it, had continuing thoughts. The Joker himself stood for a specific type of living. It was just amazing. I love The Dark Knight. I couldn't get enough of it. And yeah, like you said, the special features on the Blu-ray were awesome.
Right.
All the stuff they did for real was incredible.
And to learn, like, what it takes to film in IMAX.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they filmed so much of the movie in IMAX. It's like the first one they did without that wasn't documentary.
And they're like, all right, this is going to be a big budget action movie. Let's get these super expensive cameras, mount them on cars, and drive them around.
Yeah, exactly.
And they
broke
crash
one.
scenes. Yes.
There was one type of camera that there's only 4 of in the world that they completely destroyed.
Yes.
Filming Dark Knight. But it was totally worth it. I loved it.
Yeah.
My honorable mention, and I feel bad for Iron Man, little old Iron Man, because I thought Iron Man was an awesome superhero movie.
I agree.
I thought it was kind of like a great commentary on the typical superhero movie, like the Spider-Man trilogy. It was very different. I went into it being like, okay, I don't really know much about Iron Man. And totally a fan when I walked out. Then I feel like Dark Knight came out, 4 weeks later, and murdered it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel bad because I think Robert Downey Jr. was awesome. John Favreau's directing in it was awesome. They made a great movie, too.
And I didn't. Is it Kurt Russell? No. Who plays the villain in that? Jeff Daniels.
Jeff Daniels.
I had no idea it was Jeff Daniels.
Yeah, he
like
bulked
none
up,
at all.
came in.
I was like, oh, it's John Malkovich's cousin, and and to know like because was Jeff who was in Dumb and Dumber?
Jeff Daniels.
All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It's not. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That's why I was like, huh? Yeah. That's I agree. That was a very good movie as well.
Good.
Moving on.
What do we want to move on to?
We have books written down, but I feel like more people are going to relate to music or TV.
Right.
If we do that.
You think we should maybe split up the Brammies and Chammies into 2 podcasts?
Probably.
Yeah, we should. So we have 6 categories altogether.
Yeah. Let's power through books then.
Let's do books next. Books.
And then because we won't have introductions on the next one.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to finish music, TV, and the rest of it.
I think we can do probably books and games today.
All right. I think we should spend a lot more time discussing this.
Beforehand?
Yes.
Yes.
So that it takes up more time. All right. Let me fiddle with my notes here. All right. Books.
Books. Brammies and Chammies.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Again, these are books that we read this year that weren't
Right.
necessarily released this year.
Right. That's true. With books, we're being a little bit more lenient because you sometimes read them a little bit later after they come out. It takes a little while.
Yes.
Okay. So let's start this. Go ahead.
Favorite short story.
Yes.
It's a story called 50 WPM, standing for Words Per Minute, by Orson Scott Card. It's from his anthology, Keeper of Dreams. Basically, the story is, father and son go to the Vietnam Wall and are looking through, and then the father retells the story of when he was in Vietnam, and when he was growing up, his dad didn't teach him how to shoot, he taught him how to type, and he's like, you need to stay home and type. Boy, I think it was 50 words per minute or 90 words per minute or something. You need to stay home and type. So when there's another war, you won't get sent to the front lines. That you'll be kept in offices, and that's what happens. This guy ends up going to Vietnam, and he types out orders and types super fast, and befriends a guy who kind of teaches him how to survive in the city of, let's say, Hanoi, Saigon, one of those cities. Mm-hmm. And then it ends up that this friend that he makes, had said, like, if you see a little kid coming at you with their shirt buttoned up, he's probably got a grenade under there. And sure enough, that happens. And the other guy takes the grenade for him. It kills everyone in the club except for, the narrator. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story. And then it ends with, like, I taught you, the guy telling his son again in the future, like, I taught you how to type and how to shoot because it's your choice. It's not a choice your father should make for you. And just really, really good. Honorable mention for that would be the terrifying short story N by Stephen King, which is also somehow released on DVD. I've yet to watch it. It came with the book just after sunset. But a very good story that I'd say it's very Lovecraftian. I don't know how many people are going to get that, but in the style, horror in the style of H.P. Lovecraft.
Right. Okay. I'm going to start this by saying that Brad reads a lot more than I do.
I sure do.
And is fluent in a lot more books. That's the same thing. I don't know what I'm saying.
He
just reads a lot more than I do.
I am fluent in books.
That was retarded. All right. My favorite short story, Me and My Shadow by Kevin Smith, which was part of Kevin Smith's book, My Boring Ass Life, which was basically a year in the life of Kevin Smith.
Right.
Me and My Shadow was like I don't even know how many part series about Jason Mewes, about his heroin addiction and all the stuff that happened with Kevin Smith kind of forcing him to sober up, and all the awful things that Jason Mewes did to Kevin Smith during that point in time. Because I guess what had happened was a lot of people asked for it on Kevin Smith's website to tell him the whole story.
Right.
And he did, and he included it in the book, and I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was, and Kevin Smith is this very open style of writing, and it's really, really good.
Right.
So let's continue.
Interesting. One of the things I do read, one of the ways in which I keep my youthful exuberance toward life is to read young adult fiction every now and then. So my favorite young adult book for the year was, it's a series of books, the Percy Jackson and the Olympians books. And what it is this kid who goes through life and discovers that not only are Greek gods real, but they are still fathering children or mothering children in current times, and all these kids are half-breeds. And all of the gods are allowed to father kids except for Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. and it ends up that he's like he has all these strange powers near water, but they don't put it together until the end of the first book that he's probably the son of Poseidon.
Right.
And so he interacts with he has problems with the other kids at the camp, and
That's very odd.
You learn. I learned more about Greek mythology from reading these books than because it would be like, she's got snakes for hair. That's like Medusa, and they tell the story of Medusa, but it's in like 2 paragraphs, and it's written so that like a 12-year-old can understand it.
Right.
And just really interesting books. Honorable mention would be the most recent Artemis Fowl book. He is. Yeah, I'm not going into Artemis Fowl because that is a confusing plot line.
Okay.
But suffice to say, fairies are real.
Thanks. Thank you for that.
Yes.
All right. I replaced Brad's favorite young adult book category for myself with favorite book by a douchebag I hate. And I, why are you looking at me like that? I have a tie.
Oh. Did the same douchebag write 2 books?
No, different douchebag.
I got it.
Different douchebags.
Yes.
Sorry. First one was Skinema by Chris Nieratko, I think is the name. We didn't say his name.
Okay.
And what it is this guy used to write for Big Brother magazine. Eventually wrote for another magazine. I don't even know what it was. But his article, his weekly contribution was under the name Skinema. That was the name of the article.
Right.
And basically, it was supposed to be a porn movie review article every week that he wrote, but instead it would be just stories about his life and awful things that he did and awful things he did to different people, sexual things and.
Oh dear.
And
that does not sound like I would enjoy it at all.
It was horrible. He's a horrible guy, but a lot of bad things have happened to him.
Right.
So there's that one, and then there's I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell by Tucker Max, which was on the New York Times bestseller list.
Yes, I've seen the title.
Yes, and basically it's about this guy who was going to law school. This is all real stuff.
Right.
And he had a blog where he'd post about these sexual experiences he had and the way that he lied to different women and the awful things that he did and how shallow
fantastic.
he was. Yeah. And both douchebags I hate, and books I really enjoyed reading. I really enjoyed the books, and I really enjoyed being like, wow, I hate this guy, but it's this really interesting stuff that really happened, which is probably the reason that I found it really interesting.
Right. Biggest disappointments.
Okay.
And I feel very strongly about this one, and I felt more and more strongly the more and more I've thought about it. I read the book Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, and at first I just didn't like it.
Right.
But as it's been 3 or 4 months since I read it, I've grown to hate it.
Because of the hype.
Not like I read it because of the hype.
Right.
And I realized I'm not Ms. Meyer's target demo.
Right.
Like I am not a 14-year-old girl.
Right.
But there's so many flaws in the pacing and the plotting and the vampire mythology. Like so many things are wrong with the book. For example, the vampires don't suck blood from people, so they're not even cool anymore. They
sounds like a main element of a vampire story.
Right, right. And so he's this vampire who's like 80 something years old, hangs out invisibly because vampires can turn invisible. Hangs out in this 17-year-old girl's bedroom for 2 months and watches her sleep. And she's like, "Oh, that means you love me." What?
I have no idea about Twilight.
Okay. The guy who recruited the lead vampire in the book, older guy, let's put him 40 or 50, chronologically, before he became a vampire.
Right.
Yet the only people he recruits as vampires are teenagers. Now, I don't know if there's such a thing as vampire pedophilia, but if there is, Stephanie...
pedophilia.
Yes, Stephanie Meyer celebrates it.
Okay.
And I feel vindicated, in my opinion, on this book's worthlessness. Stephen King recently came out and said that it was terrible.
Okay.
And Stephen King knows how to tell a story or two.
I agree.
And for him to be like, I think the exact quote was, "She can't write worth a darn," which is...
Strong words.
Strong words. He's probably very aware of what he says and how much weight it carries.
Right, exactly.
I like to think that Stephen King's an intelligent man, except for being a Red Sox fan. So yeah, Twilight can I have bad things to say. The honorable mention for that would be Cryptonomicon by Neil Stephenson, which, let's face it, Cryptonomicon is a cool freaking title.
Okay. It's kryptonite for vampires.
No. And it's about password, but it's this one part World War II adventure story, one part digital media and hacking and money laundering and mystery, and you'd think like, oh, all of that sounds like it, but it's paced so weird, and like the big action sequences are skipped over. Like they'll be like, okay, I'm going into a World War II firefight, and then they talk about computer stuff for 30 pages, and then they come back and they're like, the battlefield was so bloody. And they skipped over the entire fight. Like, right. I don't want to read about passwords for 1,000 pages.
Right.
So sorry, Mr. Neil Stephenson. I'm sure it's a bestseller. Some people like it.
Right.
It just wasn't for me.
No kryptonite for vampires.
I do not hate Cryptonomicon nearly as much as I hate Twilight.
I think you made that clear.
Yes.
My biggest disappointment of the year was Snuff by Chuck Palahniuk. And I really look forward to his books.
Right.
I find he has a really interesting way of writing things. But Snuff was basically about this woman who wanted to go for the biggest amount of people to have group sex with on film.
Wow.
And basically, it's the story of it from 3 different guys.
I'm gonna ask a foolish question. At the same time, like
one after the other.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a couple at the same time,
right.
and then it's from the viewpoint of 3 different guys in the line.
Right.
And one of them is her son, one of them is her ex-husband, and one of them is someone who's trying to kill her during the sex.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know what? Sounds interesting. It has
her son is in line.
Has a lot of sex appeal. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the book just gets very monotonous, and it's just like,
well,
they're all in line.
I would imagine it would be very monotonous for her too.
Yeah, exactly. But the book this wasn't great. There was a lot of good ideas in it. Chuck Palahniuk always puts good ideas in his books. Like just little things that aren't really pertinent to the story, but are interesting in building the characters. And the whole thing wasn't that great.
Okay. Favorite method of telling a story, which I realize is an odd category, but
right.
These are the Brammies and the Jammies, all right?
Yes.
Favorite method of telling a story, the graphic novel Watchmen by Dave Gibbons and Alan Moore. Just really, I bought it and I was like, oh, it's going to be a typical graphic novel, and it isn't. There's clippings from fictional newspapers and parts from fictional biographies and everything added in to really flesh out this graphic novel. I don't know that I have the comic credibility to be excited for the movie. Like, I am excited for the movie. It looks cool. Right. But, there are people who have been waiting 20 years for it, and I obviously can't approach that. But I really thought it was a great way to tell a story. The runner-up would be the book The Princess Bride, written by William Goldman, as he presents it all as this is history. Like, I've researched this land exists, I've seen the Cliffs of Insanity.
Really?
And then goes into side stories about how his wife is leaving him, and none of which is true. Like, it's all and he's like, oh, I found this manuscript, and I've seen Inigo Montoya's grave, and
that's so weird. I've never.
It was really interesting. Like, I felt terrible because I looked it up. I was like, I'm gonna look up this country on Google Maps or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this country. Oh, you William Goldman.
That's funny.
Yes.
My favorite method of storytelling was Rant by Chuck Palahniuk.
Okay.
Which I believe came out at the end of 2007. I'm not really sure, but finished it in 2008. And the story was I'm trying to think of what it's called when it's all people's actual quotes. It's like let's say if there was someone going to do a biography on me. Oh, an oral history. Okay. What it's called. And it's fiction, obviously. So basically, what he did was he wrote a whole story, and then he kind of did it backwards by taking the different characters in the story, taking the main character out, and having them all tell the story from different points of view throughout the entire story. And it was like, I'm not gonna lie, it's in there for my favorite book of the year.
Right.
When we get to that, I'll explain it. But it was just awesome. I loved it. I thought it was really, really clever.
All right. Book I was most surprised I enjoyed. I guess this would be the opposite of biggest disappointment, where I had low expectations and it really came through. I read A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I had never read it before, and really, really enjoyed it. Charles Dickens. I occasionally find myself laughing out loud when I read stuff he wrote, hundreds of years ago. That's not right. 150 years ago? Many years ago, in London, in a very different world than the world in which we live. But his stuff there's some basic human truth to what he writes, and writes in an entertaining way.
Yeah.
Not that I didn't Bleak House was a chore to get through, but A Tale of Two Cities was about the right length, and and was an interesting story throughout. So props to Charles Dickens. wherever he is.
What up, Charlie? Book I was most surprised I enjoyed. I saw the movie Yes Man in theaters, and I thought it was pretty good. I hold Jim Carrey to a pretty high standard, so
Yes.
it wasn't my favorite thing from him. I'm really a big fan of Liar Liar,
Right.
Ace Ventura, and Dumb and Dumber. I thought Yes Man was pretty good, and then my mom actually got me the book Yes Man that it
Okay.
was based on for Christmas, and I was like, oh, I'll see what this is like. And I thought it was going to be very similar. The book is completely different.
Right.
From the movie, completely different. The character is not Jim Carrey-esque at all. In fact, if you remember Jim Carrey's English friend, who plays Murray on the Flight of the Conchords, that's basically the character of the main character in the book Yes Man. Much more like that. Very different story, very different tone, very different humor, and I think it's really good. I haven't actually finished it yet, but I'm really, really into it, and it's keeping my attention very, very much.
Nice. Favorite book of the year?
Favorite book of the year?
I definitely took a cop out on this. And there's a series of books by an author named Terry Goodkind called The Sword of Truth. And it's, swords and wizards and sorcerers. And I realize that's not for everyone, but it's really started a couple years ago. I wanted something epic, whether it was books or movies or whatever. And so I started to get into books with dragons and fair maidens and princesses and all that good stuff. And then I've read some very good ones. Robert Jordan's Eye of the World series and so on, and I've read some ones that weren't for me. But the Sword of Truth series is fantastic. I think at the time when I wrote this list, I had read the first 4 books, and I've since read the next 2. And I can't wait to see how it all comes out. Which I guess to keep someone's interest over at this point like 5,000 to 6,000 pages.
Yeah.
It's some engrossing stuff.
Right.
So the Sword of Truth series by Terry Goodkind.
My favorite book of the year is a tie. Rant by Chuck Palahniuk, I already mentioned.
Right.
Eminem's biography, The Way I Am.
Really?
Really, really good. Really good. He's a very interesting guy. I've always been a fan of Eminem. Chris Farley's autobiography.
Yes.
Not autobiography, biography.
Right.
His brother wrote it, I think.
And I really like the way that's told too, and that probably could have gone in with Watchmen and Princess Bride, and just the way they told Chris Farley's story was really intriguing.
Right. I completely agree. As well as my 4-way tie, Chuck Klosterman's 4, which is Chuck Klosterman is like a pop culture journalist, and he released 4, which you've read.
Yes.
And it's all articles. Some stuff that is interviews, some stuff that's just like him thinking about things.
Right.
And it was one of my favorite reads of the year. I thought it was very interesting, and all those books were just great. Chris Farley's book was very sad.
On the flight on the way home from somewhere, I think when I came back from Chicago a couple weeks ago, the girl sitting directly behind me was reading Sex, Drugs, and Cocoa Puffs, also by Chuck Klosterman.
Oh, really?
And I heard her mention it, and I turned around and I'm like, "Are you talking about Chuck Klosterman?" She's like, "Yes."
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Please turn around.
Yes, that was basically it.
I put in. I don't know if I told you I was going to do this. I put in my favorite graphic novel as well.
Go ahead.
My favorite graphic novel series is Civil War, Marvel Civil War. I just got into it. Couldn't believe how well written the 2 books, Road to Civil War and the actual Civil War series, were.
At this point, I would like to mention that my friend Chad has not bought me a birthday present from last year.
Civil War is the way to go.
And that those books, or one of those books, would be a fantastic birthday present.
I'm not gonna lie, you can get them on Amazon.com for like $2 each, because there's a ton of them. There's a ton of the collections.
Right.
They did like one from Spider-Man's point of view, one from Wolverine, all different people. I'm reading a bunch of them, and they're all written by different comic book artists and writers. So they're wicked interesting, very good. And honorable mention, The Joker, Arkham Asylum, and The Killing Joke, all graphic novel stories about the Joker and Batman, which I never was into before Dark Knight. I'll admit that.
Right.
But you know what? They turned me on to books that were written, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. One of them was 1980.
Wow.
So they're all awesome. Extremely dark. I never expected it from DC or from a Batman story.
Right.
And they're just great.
I would say that if we're throwing in graphic novels, I guess the series of Stephen King Gunslinger, comics / eventual graphic compilations, really flesh out the world, and The Dark Tower is probably my favorite series of books.
I've heard The Dark Tower is great.
And then to get more information on who these characters are and what happened, between a flashback, it's interesting stuff.
Right.
So I would throw that on there just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've actually heard a lot of good stuff about that too.
Yes.
So I think we're going to end the first podcast now.
and probably directly start recording the second one for
Yeah, we probably
release at a
will.
later date.
Why not? I wanted to end this podcast. Maybe we'll end every podcast with a question for Brad.
Oh, fantastic!
I wanted to ask you a question.
Please do.
All right. If you're interested in asking us a question, you can send it to chuckstaten@gmail.com or
BradRohr@gmail.com.
how do you spell roar?
BradRohrer@gmail.com.
That's Brad Roar.
Or CHUCKSTATON.
@gmail.com.
There we go.
We're going to have a field, so you can just fill it out. You have to remember that
Right.
eventually. All right, my question for Brad.
Thank you.
All right. First of all, I'm assuming you believe that anything that two adults do by themselves that's consensual is pretty much okay. Pretty much okay. Not, having sex with a horse or whatever.
I would say pretty much.
Pretty much. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like, in other words, if Tej is a gay guy, gay guys can do what they like.
If Tej is a gay guy.
Things like that.
Right.
Do you believe that any type of masturbation fantasy is pretty much okay if you're just masturbating by yourself?
I guess I don't know what, like, is it okay if a husband thinks about a woman other than his wife, or is it okay
I'm
if a
saying-
straight man thinks about another straight man?
I think, any of that. I think that's all included.
It's tough.
It is tough.
Because, I was raised a Christian, and the Bible does talk about, like, your thoughts are probably as important as your actions.
Right. I agree with that for the most part. I mean, I do believe that, in other words, I'll put it this way. I believe that it's possible for a man to think about something during masturbating that he would not do in real life. I think it's very probable, actually, for the most part.
Yes.
But continue.
Which would probably account for the popularity of pornography,
Right.
as you call it.
Right.
I would have to say, like, whatever you're thinking about, that's none of my business. Like, Tej, if you want to think about, like, Swiss cake rolls, not anything. Not anything sexual with Swiss cake rolls, but how delicious they are, and you're like, oh yeah, these are delicious. That's none of my business.
Is it really a problem if he thinks about him sexually? Not really.
I guess not.
I guess not. Well,
How would little Debbie react to that?
I'll ask you then. Is it okay for you as yourself?
Right,
Would
as
you think
myself.
it's okay to think about any non-related to you woman
Okay.
sexually in a masturbation fantasy?
See, I would say, it probably would be okay. I just, like, I don't want to think about somebody's wife. I don't want to think about somebody's girlfriend. Like,
Is that true? You never would?
I don't want to say I never would, but it's not something I really think about. Like, it's not something I strive to do. Like, even, and this tells you probably more about me than you want to know, but, like, when Trish Stratus,
Yeah.
former WWE diva,
Yes.
when she got married, I was like, well, she's no longer my celebrity crush. Because I don't think it's right for me to have a crush on another man's wife.
Okay, but what about girlfriend? Do you think his girlfriend okay?
I think it's a little different. When
I do think it's different.
When like, especially when you're famous, and famous for being hot.
Right.
You expect these things. I'm not going to be like, hey, Miss Stratus, I bought your poster. Like, guess what I do?
But it's okay. What do you think it's okay?
I'm going to say that that's probably a more personal decision. Like, I'm not going to tell people how to live their life.
Right. So hypothetically, it's like up to them.
Yeah, it's instead of being between two consenting adults, it's between one consenting adult.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, you can't just cut out anyone that's in a relationship out of a masturbation fantasy.
I don't know that I don't know that you can cut it out, but I don't think you should be like, yeah, so and so's girlfriend. Like,
Really?
I don't think.
Wow, I'm surprised.
I'm thinking, and no, I don't think. No, I'm gonna stick with rewinding this and cutting this part out, because we kept it so PG, maybe PG-13 through the entire thing, and then we get to this part.
I'm going to let you know up front.
Yes.
During masturbation, everything's off limits for me. Okay.
What do you mean off limits?
Everyone's off limits. Everyone's invited to the party.
Oh, okay, everyone's on limits. You're like, everyone's off limits. I only
rules don't exist.
Everyone's off limits. I only like to think about myself.
I'm just saying. There's a lot going on.
Oh, Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man.
There. Seriously?
You're so delicious.
It's more like, in my head, it's like the fantasy starts. And it's like, Tom's grandma calls Chuck over to help her move a fridge. Or
well, any member of Tom's family is fair game at all times.
Yes. No, I'm just saying. I think it's okay. I wanted to get your opinion.
That's
on it.
my honest opinion is that, if somebody's in a relationship, I'm not even trying to subconsciously mess up that relationship.
Come on, you can't subconsciously mess it up with masturbation.
I don't know. I'm a pretty That's not true. I'm not powerful at all. But no, I think I wouldn't want, in the event that I ever get a girlfriend,
Of course.
I wouldn't want somebody thinking of her when they were letting their fingers
Really?
do the Kansas City Shuffle.
I don't think I'm close to anyone whose girlfriend I haven't masturbated thinking about.
That's wonderful, Chuck.
I'm just saying.
That's beautiful.
I think that variety of the spice of life. Would you agree with that?
Chuck, I've ordered the same thing at Meeting Street Cafe the last 8 times we've been there. What do you think I think about variety?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Well,
that's our podcast. That's our first podcast.
That's our first
I'm
podcast.
proud of it.
I think we did very well.
Me too.
We talked about half an hour longer than we meant to.
Mm-hmm. And we were well spoken.
Yes.
So.
And kept the swears to a minimum.
Right. And I hope you tune in for the next time, to the listeners. Is that it? Is that all about us?
I would agree.
All right.
Deuces.
Thanks for listening.